Hello, good evening and welcome. This is, of course, Wednesday night. It's my favourite night of the week. I say it every single week, don't I? But my name's Dave Parkinson. You are listening to the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. Now, I'm joined, as always, by my co-host with the most. It's that man, Mr. Steve Beach. How are you doing, Steve?
Co-host with the most. It sounds like I need antibiotics or something like that. No, doing fine, thanks, Parky. Didn't take in much rugby sort of at games this weekend, but obviously I kept my eye on all of the results that have come in from obviously a lot of the different leagues and some interesting ones we've got to talk about tonight, I must admit.
Yeah, we've had some really interesting results that have come through, haven't we, from the likes of the North West Men's League, the Yorkshire Men's League. We've got the Cumbrian results as per usual to bring you, and also some other results from right around the country. But I do want to break tradition, because I know previously on the show we've usually started, haven't we, with National Conference League.
Yeah.
But I want to start because unfortunately, circumstances meant that I couldn't be at a National Conference League game this week. So we can't maybe give as much detail on a couple of the games as I would like to. If I can find a way of cloning, if anybody knows how I can get myself cloned, then I'm happy to listen to it. Because
that
to be fair,
too dangerous to me, that day.
To be fair, if I could do three of me, I'd cover Rugby League in the way that I believe it should be covered. But I was over at Ashton Bears on Saturday. Really good day this for Community Rugby League, as the England Community Lions rolled into town. So it was the under-16s and the under-18s that were taking on their Scotland counterparts. Two games, starting off with the under-16s, and I've got to say, they did really well, did Scotland. I was impressed with them. I think they've got some really useful players that I hope stick around with Rugby League and go further within the sport. But I'll bring you my match report, and then we've got an interview with Tom Wood to bring you. So, a strong start to the second half and a 2-try finish put enough distance between England and Scotland. The visitors battled hard and trailed just 10 points to 6 at half-time after a combative opening. The visitors fashioned the first chance 5 minutes in before the Lions spilled an opportunity of their own in the 12th minute. England eventually opened scoring after 21 minutes. A superb pass from Arben Pervisage created a try for Alex Golightly. Seth Clapham was a thorn in England's side throughout, and he created a chance for Jacob Robinson before having a strong run himself. And Scotland then eventually got off the mark when a great piece of anticipation by Struan White allowed the winger to intercept a Nate Parker pass. Miles Michaels' conversion gave them the advantage after 28 minutes. 6 minutes later, though, the Lions were in front again when Ashton Bears' very own Jaden Aaron stormed almost 60 metres and Zach Mannion goaling. 2 tries in the first 10 minutes of the second half settled the Lions down, as first Xavier Deli-Charlie beat 3 despairing defenders with a run to the line before Mannion supported Lewis Pilling. Mannion and Lloyd Stainton missed the conversions, but it was now 18 points to 6 with 50 minutes on the clock. Scotland fashioned another running chance after 56 minutes, but some solid defence put White over the touchline. 6 minutes later, Mannion's offload was superb, and Lucas Mulqueeny and Golightly combined for a diving finish wide out by Ollie Shallcross. Tyler Sykes missed the conversion for the Lions, but added the ensuing penalty given for Shallcross being fouled in the act of scoring. Scotland rallied, with Joe Clarkson twisting over in the left corner, but Michael couldn't convert. Nonetheless, it was only 24-10 with 15 minutes remaining. Crucially, the next score went the way of the Lions, as Alfie Cox sent Leighton Dockeray through the middle and Sykes' goal made it 30 points to 10. Then, just 4 minutes from time, Parker slid through some tired tackles to confirm victory. A magnificent run from Diego Walker set things up. Parker's shimmy and pace did the rest. Sykes' third conversion closed the scoring and confirmed a 36 points to 10 result for the England Community Lions under-16s. So you would have thought, after such a result, that the coach would have been pretty happy, but they had to work extremely hard, and I've got to be honest, in the first 20 minutes Scotland were the better team. They had a real decent pack, the front row especially of Joe Miller, Miles Michael and Finlay Mortimer. They really did get stuck into the Lions. And then I mentioned a couple of the lads out wide who also did well. Seth Clapham, little centre with some headgear on.
Yeah.
every time he touched it, it looked like he was likely to make a break, and he received some really good support, to be honest, from the likes of Lachlan Webster, Jacob Robinson, and the winger on the other side, Struan White. And I've got to say, his try that he took was superb. There'd been a couple of times when Parker, especially in the first 20 minutes, had gone to the line and then released a wide pass, and he judged the third one to perfection and snapped it up to go all the way to the try line at the other end. So that was the game. This is what Tom Wood felt about it.
Well, we're speaking after another victory here, Tom. It's becoming habit forming, but I know that one was hard work, wasn't it?
Yeah, I said at half time of the last game that we can't. Well, after the game, we undid all our hard work, and I think today we started terribly, and it didn't get much better for quite a bit of the game, but we got in it, and then when we did, and we knew we'd just get a bit of possession and score, and it's as simple as that. I said it last week, 2 weeks ago against Wales. When we get the ball in good positions, we've got some good players, but we just didn't do it enough today and give Scotland quite a few opportunities, and they're a good little side, you know what I mean? They've got some good players in there who punished us at times, and some poor defending from us, but a win's a win. I've just said to the boys then, that's what we aim to do. We aim to win, and we won, and anything else we'll fix up after that.
I mean, to be fair as well, that first 20 minutes of the second half, they certainly took it on board, didn't they? Because they scored, 3-4 tries in that period?
Yeah, and I give them a bit of a stern speaking to between me and Martin, and I don't like doing that. It's not my style, but I was just disappointed in how we've trained and how we applied ourselves 2 weeks ago in front of a crowd and the families and stuff. They didn't do it justice in that first half, but that 20 minutes, I think, well, it did win us the game because we scored majority of our points in it. But we've got to learn that when we play Ireland and then Wales again, they're going to start well, so we have to react and start well. But overall, I'm happy. We won, and I know I keep going back to it, but we won, and we've got a lot to work on, which excites me, really.
And that is what the exciting part is, isn't it? Because you can see there's so much improvement left in this squad.
100%. And listen, I'm not making excuses for the lads, but they've had a stressful few weeks with exams and things. I know a lot of them finished school yesterday. So they've got a bit of time now. We give them a bit of time off to relax and enjoy it with their family and friends, and hopefully enjoy the weather, what's been going on. And we'll come back in about 2-3 weeks' time, and we'll work hard. And we've got a lot to work on, but it excites me, like you said. We've got some talent in there, so we'll be fine.
I know that certainly you picked out Arbon last time. I picked him out as my man of the match again. It's at risk of talking him up again. But he was very, very good in that middle, wasn't he, on both his stints? Very good.
And I thought our starting middles, apart from Arbon, I think they looked gassed at one point. But it was because we defended so much. We defended like, I think our statsman said they defended like twice as much ball as us at one point. We defended twice as much, and I just think we can't do that to teams. But Arbon were good. I thought Jaden Aaron off the bench were brilliant as well, on his own ground at Ashton.
And that try he scored as well, he brought the house down, didn't he?
Brilliant. And like I say, there's a lot of people here today watching Jaden. He's done his club proud, and there were a few. Zav, I think Zav, he got rewarded with a start today, and he carried really well, and probably carried for other people. And I had a bit of a go at him at half time because I want him to do his job, and if everyone does the job, we're a good side.
He kept moving away from his position, didn't he?
Yeah, he was playing back row and ended up taking a carry on his other edge, and I was just, that's where we've got to be smart, and the lads know that. We'll be good though, we'll be good.
Well, congratulations. I know there's plenty to work on, but as you say, that's where the exciting point, isn't it, of what this programme's all about.
Tom Wood, proud of his team. They got the job done in the end, and he was happy with the result, but perhaps not how they got there.
Yeah. He was saying that obviously, not following the processes to the nth degree, to a certain degree. Got to say though, 36 points to 10, like you say, it sounds like a really good result. From a Scotland point of view, how do you see that helping them sort of boost going forward, do you think?
I do think it's a boost for them. Obviously they go and they play Ireland and they play against Wales, so they've still got, two very tough internationals to come over the course of the next few months. But, they have got some useful players, and there's some players there that the proper Scots.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question, actually. How many are sort of... because obviously we always have this debate in the professional game with regards to Wales Ireland and Scotland, there are a lot of heritage players who are playing.
I mean, don't
So
get me
how
wrong.
does-
Don't get me wrong. There was several heritage players in there, but there was also a few proper Scots in there, and it bodes well. It bodes well for them. But I've said this before about when I've seen Scotland. They had a team 2 or 3 years ago that, if you remember rightly, when we first started doing the show, they played particularly well against England, and I know the scoreline in that game was something like 48-26 or something like that in England's favour. But they showed some real promise. And there's only 1 or 2 of those players that I'm aware of that are still knocking around. Yeah. So it's kind of what happens now. These are very
that's the important
times.
bit, isn't it? Yeah, I agree.
And it's the same with Wales. A few weeks ago, they've got a very, very young set of players, and what they try and do is they try and have some players that are under 15s, so as they've got some players that can still play at that level next year to bring the young players through, and that's how they like to do it. But then it's what happens after that. And do those players go on? Do they, carry on with rugby league? Do they drift off back into rugby union, for example? Will these lads carry on? I certainly hope, for the benefit of Scotland Rugby League, that they do, because they have got some really decent players, like I mentioned, that certainly gave their all. And I know in particular that I think it was Miller that Tom was particularly impressed with from the Scotland, the Scotland team. And again, he appeared more like he was like a back row rugby union forward, playing in the front row of a rugby league pack. But he was non-stop all the time, kept going in. And I've got to say that Arben, who was praised in the first game, he really impressed me in this one. But I kind of agree with what Tom was saying, to be fair, as well, on the reflection and having watched the game back, that Jayden Aaron getting the chance to run out on his own hometown pitch to storm the barricades like he did and race through from 60 metres. He's got some pace for a big lad, and that's really good. So that's made a massive memory, which is going to stick with him in particular for the rest of his days. But it's 2 out of 2, and you can't say much further than that after 2 games, can you?
Crowd wise, how many?
Crowd wise,
approximately.
There seems to be a good crowd, throughout the day. It's always hard, to be honest, because at that particular venue, on the side where the teams are and the dugouts, at the back of you've got a load of overgrown, so you can't really use that side. But even so, just behind that, the motorway's there. So you don't really want anybody getting that far back anyway. True, on the other side, there were 2 or 3, 4 deep in places, so there was a lot of people down the touchline and quite a few behind the try line as well, because they got like this little dip area just before you get to the car park, where it was such a nice day. Families were there setting out picnics and things like that. It was gorgeous. It was really good, and it was played in the right spirit. It was played in the right spirit with the right sort of attitude of going forward. The Scots were a bit physical at times, like you would expect. There was certainly some testosterone running around on the field, as there is at that age. But overall, when push comes to shove, both sides got on with it, and that's what you want to see. You want to see a test match where everybody gives their all, and I had the feeling that this was it. Yes, perhaps it wasn't from an England point of view. If you're analysing it. It wasn't the best rugby in the world that you'll ever see, but they found a way to get the job done. And had to show a lot of character. And
as you say, read the score in the papers the day after. The bottom line is, as much as you want your team to place back good rugby, first and foremost, you want them to win, don't you?
You do.
And that doesn't matter at what level of rugby.
I like how you mentioned that about reading the papers. I hope you did. Not just saying that because it was my report that appeared in the paper, but...
It's here in front of me, David.
It's here in front of you. There you go. Right, okay. Moving on, and straight after that game, the under-18s took the field. Now, I was really impressed with the under-18s when they played in Wales, because they just swept Wales apart. They swept them away. They played such spectacular rugby league that I thought I'm really looking forward to seeing how these guys how these guys play. And there was a couple of changes. They brought a couple of lads in who have been featuring more and are expected to feature more in the under-17s ranks. So they brought in...
I understand what you mean, yeah.
They brought in Josh Hopkins from Lee East. He was on the bench, and what he offers is that he can play a multitude of positions. He's been playing for centre for Lee East. He can play in the halves. He can play at hooker, and he had a go in the halves and at hooker during this game, which was very good. And they also brought in as well a lad from Waterhead, Cameron Robinson, who is a very, very promising young six, who I think, when he gets more settled, because he was very nervous, it was a nervy performance from him, particularly in the opening 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, Scotland targeted him. They realised that he was nervous, and they sent everything down there, so he had to make a lot of defensive decisions. Some of them he got right, some of them he didn't quite get right, but let's be honest, he's learning. He stepped up, and his second half was much, much better when he was on for his stint, for the first 20 in the second half. Yeah. So, it is all about the bigger picture as far as this under-18 side is concerned. Because of the fact we've also got an under-17s programme that is going alongside it, and players that can represent both still because of their age, which is a really good place to be as far as the Lions are concerned. So what?
Well, that's similar to what you were saying about the Wales setup in that respect, isn't it?
It is.
You can get someone that can step in, and that gives you good depth in squad in that. And guys, then next year those 17s will be obviously under 18s, or under 70s will be under 18s next year. So they won't come in fresh. They will have some experience under the belt, so they can help others who will be coming up. So in that sort of sense, it does move it on and bodes well for a better footing, really.
And ultimately, these two year groups, if you like, that they can play under 17 and under 18 at the moment, they're going to be the guys that they'll be looking at, or will be looked towards to represent England in the next European Championships, which is expected to take place next September. So, it's an exciting place to be, really, at the moment, with the way that the programme is developing. But back to the action on the pitch, and the final score of 34-4. Again, a very, very solid effort from Scotland. Let's take you through it. So England made it 2 wins from 2 in 2023 with a hard-fought 6-try success. 2 in the first 3 minutes set them on their way, starting with Josh Blinkhorn diving over from dummy half. Harvey Nelson goaled and was on target following a try of his own after Luke Sutcliffe and Henry Ogden moved play down the left. Nelson charging the remaining 30 metres. Scotland responded by taking advantage of a set restart, and fullback Hayden Cummings bounced away from a challenge and raced through a gap to score, but it was too far out for Max McLeod to convert. But the Lions applied more pressure, and there was little that the visitors could do when Blinkhorn plundered his second try after 19 minutes. Nelson's third goal made it 18 points to 4. Scotland battled well for the rest of the half, with Cummings and halfback Max Shelton never far from the action, and loose forward Isaac Reed doing well against the Lions pack that was given a boost from the bench by Malachi Price and Tom Farron. England missed a couple of scoring opportunities when the second period began, but after forcing Scotland to kick from their own 20, Harry Sheridan collected on halfway and shifted left before skirting around the defence and going wide out for a try, which was easy on the eye. Nelson couldn't improve. Debutant Josh Hopkins supported Jack Lawler to finish a flowing move in the 56th minute, and Nelson made it 28 points to 4 with the conversion. Sheridan was then sin-binned for a high tackle, and although Scotland enjoyed some attacking possession, the Lions defending well, forcing Nathan Preston in particular in touch. And with the final move of the game, Daniel Knott found a way to the line. Nelson completing the scoring with his 5th goal in a personal 14-point haul. The player of the game accolade went to Lions scrum half Devon Sharp, who organised well throughout, kicked well from hand, and was basically, again, never far away from the action. And he was a dominant voice, while Cummings collected the award for Scotland. So final score 34 points to 4. Before we reflect on that, I want to bring some reaction. So first of all, we're going to hear from the under-18 skipper, Ollie Smart.
Okay, with skipper Ollie Smart. Ollie, victory today. What did you make of the game?
To be all honest, I thought there were parts where we were playing at the top level that we can, but there were points where got a bit sloppy, a bit stop-starty, and a few mistakes, looked a bit clunky. But at the end of the day, it's still a big win over big rivals. So I'm sure we'll celebrate that well, and we'll get back into training camp and be ready to work on it.
Did you possibly make such a good start? Because I mean, it was 12-0 after like 3 minutes. Could you make a better start than that?
I don't think so. I think we had the dream start. I think we were all switched on from minute one in the changing rooms, and we came out, and all we wanted to do was complete. So 2 tries coming off the back of that, we were over the moon. But although it's a big plus, we all want to work on it, because as much as we're happy with the win, everyone's got a bit of, we've won, but there's something to work on, which I think is good. So we'll be looking forward to get back training, back working hard, and be ready for the next fixture.
I mean, I agree with you, and I think that says something about the potential of this team, really, doesn't it? There's places where this team can go.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got all the talent in the world here, so I think there's no reason why we can't go 4 from 4. But rather than looking all the way down the line, we'll focus on our next game, and I'm sure we'll watch this game back and pick out a few key points, and we'll just work on it from there.
Not bad for a skipper though, 2 out of 2, mate.
Buzzing.
You're playing that down a little bit.
Just a little bit. I'm sure when I get in sheds, I'll be buzzing. But no, great result. It's honestly, it's an honour, obviously, for me, my family, and Cyril to lead out, especially with such a talented group of lads, and to make it 2 from 2 so far, only conceding 2 tries, shows the mentality that we have. And I like to think that I give a bit of that mentality to the lads, where I don't care if you're 20 points up, it's still time to go 110%, but just buzzing to be a part of it.
And I think the good thing is that you've still got like 2 or 3 other leaders around, isn't there, in this team? When you look at the likes of Sutty at 13, he really leads the line as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, we've definitely got lads who are happy to take us up, especially when it gets tough, a bit of adversity comes over. We've got the pack that leads Army, Sutty, then we've got the pivots, Sharpie, Cameron. We've just got leaders all around the park, but we know when they know when to settle down, and we know when we need one voice, there's only one voice. But when we've got leaders all over, it's easy to get through adversity.
Yeah, because I mean, to be fair, Scotland give it, didn't they?
Yeah, we knew they'd come at us. I don't think they're too keen on us, so they knew, especially in them rucks. But they came at us, and we only conceded 1 try in the first half and none in the second. I think, they came for us, and we handled it very well. So I'm very proud of the boys for that. Big
victory. Bit of time off before you get back into camp again?
Yeah, I think we'll all rest up a little bit, get back to community rugby, get back at mixer with that, watch this footage back, and I'm sure we'll all be keen to get going again. But yeah, just buzzing.
Cheers, Ollie.
Thank you very much.
Ollie Smart there. I think he's getting used to these interviews now. How well did he speak?
Very well. Got it. I'll tell you what, Dave, he was buzzing.
He was buzzing. That was the key word in all of that. And
but it showed his enthusiasm, and you could tell he enjoyed it, and you could tell he was proud of what he had done as a player, for his club, his family, himself, and obviously all what his teammates had done as a collective too.
I mean, he didn't get on the scoreboard, but I think just his general presence on the field, it was all high quality stuff that he came up with, so defensively, he never let his opposite number beat him, and sort of he took some decent carries from deep within his own half, which set things and set a good platform for sets of 6 as we're moving on. A very, very promising young player. And I'm delighted for him as one of the players that played in the under-16s last year that had to, they suffered 2 defeats against Wales.
Yeah.
So the way that he's kicked on in particular, and I tell you what, I don't know what they feed him in Yorkshire.
Big lad?
He's a big lad, yeah. He could easily play second row.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And that's the thing, isn't it, at this age group? You're talking from 16 through to 18. I mean, as much as we say, everybody doesn't develop at the same time, but you do get, sometimes you see a huge change from 16 through to 18. You can not see him for the end of one season, and the season after, you think you're talking or finding a different player, because the physique changes, not specifically from a training point of view, just they're at that age where usually that does happen, with all boys, obviously.
Okay, so the skipper was buzzing. What about his coach? Let's hear now from Gary Hewer.
It looks handsome on the scoreboard, 34 points to 4. Dream start, 2 tries in the first 3 minutes. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I thought the game overall was a bit of a stoppy-starty, clunky type of game from start to finish, and there was some impacting factors on that in terms of our skills execution wasn't at the highest today in certain aspects of our game, and we need to sort of learn to tidy that up. We did talk about that at the start of the game, to be fair, about high levels of skill execution, but for whatever reason today, there was some individual, poor execution.
But I mean, you got over them in the end. You had to work really hard, didn't you, at the points?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got to put it into context. Scotland's racked up here with some top-end age group players that aren't eligible for the Europeans next year, and ours is about the journey travelled and the preparation going forward. So we made a few changes today, and we've seen a little bit more of some of the players that played last week. We've seen some new players this week, and we're finding about these players and the combinations as we go forward, and you're learning all the time. So it wasn't a slick performance like we did against Wales. We had to find a different way to win, and Scotland brought the physicality in there and a bit of a niggle and a disruption game, and that tactic sort of worked for them to a point, but ultimately we still scored 30 plus points, and the second half was pleasing that they didn't cross the whitewash. So there's a lot of positives to pull from the game, and ultimately a lot of development areas as well. But at the end of the day, it's an international match, and these guys have represented the community clubs, represented the families, and they've wore the shirt with pride and got the win.
I mean, that's the great thing, isn't it? When you look and you see how proud everybody is to pull on that shirt.
Absolutely, you look around here, it's a bit of a carnival atmosphere. It's at a community club, and rightfully so. It's community rugby at its best, and Ashton have put the game on today, and hopefully they've benefited from it. And the exposure with international games being here is good for them, and hopefully other clubs will get the opportunity as well going forward. So yeah, a lot of positives all around. We're still on this journey. We've got to dust ourselves down a little bit now and reflect from this and plan a little bit forward, looking for 2 under-17 test matches against an unknown French.
I was going to say, because your journey doesn't stop for these lads. They can rest up for a couple of weeks, can't they? But you're straight in with the 17s again.
It is. And under our programme, we had one 17s session planned before the French team come over for a week and have an intense two-test series. So we've looked at that, and we've pulled in an extra session for the 17s to prepare them a little bit better, what we think it's totally an unknown, and it will stretch our 17s. And to be honest about that, but that's what it's all about, because ours is the bigger journey and looking at player development, and ultimately when our journey is complete in terms of test matches played and 18s, we've got to play Ireland and we've got to play Wales again and potentially other teams. At some stage I have to look at the pool of players that we've had throughout this journey and pick a 23-25 man squad to play in the European Championships in 24. So yeah, it's all about growing, it's all about developing, and along the way people get experiences of test match rugby, which is fantastic for the community game.
Thanks a lot, Gary.
Gary, a little more grounded, I think there, Steve, would be fair to say. But again, we've already touched upon the fact that there's a bigger picture involved here. And he summed it up perfectly, didn't he, about being able to look forward and to give players the debut and to sort of see what they like. And again, having to win differently, because they completely blew away and obliterated Wales in the last game. Let's make no bones about it. They reached 50 points. And I suppose early on, when they went 12-0 up within 3 minutes, you're thinking they're going to do the same again. Yeah. But credit where credit is due, and Scotland, they battled well. Again, perhaps unlike the under-16s where you could pick out 3 or 4 of the players and think, oh, he's really good and he's really good, he's really good. There was more of a collective effort from Scotland, and they definitely came with a plan to kind of slow the ball down and to kind of like niggle a little bit, which you can do. Yeah, it's within the rules. You know, you're not expecting to win handsomely with every single time. So there was a couple of things that went on where England had to get the better of it. Yeah, and they did. And they showed a different way to win, which is all credit to them. Scotland, a very, very physical side. I know you asked me about heritage players last time out.
That's right, yeah.
There didn't seem there was quite as many. Or there didn't seem to be quite as many full-blown Scots in this under-18 side. I may be wrong, but when I heard the fullback, who was the standout player, giving orders to the side and marshalling, he was Australian.
Wow.
So I'm not saying, I'm not saying anything against it. You can do this, obviously. It's not outside the rules. And if a player wants to represent the country of his parents' birth, then that is fair enough, isn't it? And we can't take anything away from him. And he's a good player, by the way, Hayden Cummins. I want to look out for him actually and see how his career develops, because he does look a keen competitor as well. All the players that I was impressed with from a Scotland point of view was probably Isaac Reed at loose forward. Now, you know you're in for something when you've got two number 13s who's got mullet hairstyles and they're clashing together. It was like a clash of the mullets. It was absolutely fantastic, and I love looking for things like that. I think Sutcliffe just got the better of him in over the 80 minutes, but it was great to see the competition between those two players in particular. And then if I also look as well, you know, the fact that they had Fraser McCauley, who did pretty well, Jack Suddick off the bench did pretty good as well. You know, so they do have players that again are quite useful, and I'm just hoping that they stick around long enough to have a real impact on Scottish Rugby League moving forward, because we definitely need that, and we definitely need more. We need more players that can represent home countries, don't we?
Yeah, certainly do. And hopefully, let's say we were saying about the under-16s, hopefully, you know, those players will start to come through, certainly from obviously up there in the Scottish leagues as well. I'm just looking at the Scottish team here. There's still some good Scottish names in there.
Oh, there is. Yeah.
McLeod, Fraser Murray, we've got Fraser McCauley, George McKinnon. So there's some real good Scottish names in there. So I've got to say I like it because, I mean, the bottom line is we know, you know, we see the professional game and you see the players that play there. And I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, they're in the same footing in the sense of, you know, with heritage players, etc. But this is exactly the same as the likes of England professionally and obviously England amateur-wise. It all starts grassroots at community. And if you can get that strong here, then that's a good feeding ground moving on, isn't it? What we were saying before about what did they do after this, I hope from all of these games there's data collected to find out why or what happens to these players afterwards, so they can pinpoint areas where maybe things can be done to help to keep them back in the game if they are drifting away from the game, you know.
Are you talking more of a general point of this, you know? Because I know that's certainly something that, well, when they're on my radar, I look out for him again, don't I? Because I love being able to mention some of the guys that I've had the pleasure of being involved in tournaments with, and, you know, that I've seen, you know, as younger players develop into more mature players and, you know, becoming very, very good rugby players. There's every time we do a roundup and I look at scorers across the NCL now, I'm talking about lads that I've worked with at certain points, aren't I?
Well, that's right, and I think that's what hopefully we as a you know a podcast can help to do. I know we try our best at doing it, but the bottom line is if we can find out, you know, well, not just us specifically, if the game can find out why people are drifting away. And I mean, I know everybody's got the theories and their opinions, and they're all very, very similar when we spoke to coaches and clubs up and down the country. But it'd be good to get some solid, you know, evidence that it can, you know, sort of say this is why they're going, this is what happens. Then we can sort of try and address it to see how we can, you know, keep this, you know, community lions, whether it be England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, or whoever, trying to keep it going strong, because it's an excellent platform for them moving forward.
Are you also trying to get my highlighter pens out of semi-retirement from our previous podcast, where you've seen some of my notes, haven't you? Now, colourful they used to be.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's like Pride weekend. It was that colourful.
You get some cracking colours though for highlighter pens.
I'm sure you do.
Right. So that's the internationals done dusted for the next couple of weeks at least. So, you know, I know that the next ones on the horizon are the under-17s internationals. Both of those games taking place over the space of 4 games at Warrington's Victoria Park. So do look out for those. I think the first one is on the, I should have looked this up, shouldn't I? So the first one is due to be played on Saturday the 15th of July, with the second test This is the under-17s, by the way, playing against France.
France, yeah, I thought,
17s.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Playing against the French under-20s.
I'd certainly be checking dates of birth on that. That's my thoughts anyway. But we will do it again. So 15th of July over at Victoria Park is the first test. The second test takes place on the 19th of July, just 4 days later in midweek. So that's a Wednesday evening.
What's that one at, do you know?
So again, both of those games over at Victoria Park.
Oh, yes. Midweek game at Vicky Park as well is excellent. Vicky Park as a venue is a superb venue, so all I would say, get down there because you'll be a nice, comfortable arena that you'll be able to watch all of the game. You don't miss anything. Great view.
At the moment, it looks like I can't make the Saturday game, but I can make the Wednesday game, which will mean we'll have to record the podcast again a little bit earlier. Not that we've ever done that before.
This is live, Dave.
It's definitely live. We've definitely never done that before. So looking forward to that. Right. So I'd normally dive headlong into the National Conference League at this stage, but again, I'm going to break with tradition. You've got to mix it up, haven't they?
It's being mixed up today, well and truly.
So where do you think I'm going to go?
I would have a guess at not Cumbria by any chance.
Oh, yes.
Oh, nail on the head. Aim on.
It's only because you wanted to hear me say, what are the latest goings on in the Holman Eagleson Premier Division? And the results from last week, well, Kells A 14, Dissington 46. A really impressive performance this from Dissington. They led just 16 points to 14 at half time. The scorers for Kells, they came via Ashton Syce, Dan Greers, who incidentally played... he played the day after for England Community Lions. He played on the Friday night. I'm not sure whether reading that he should have done, but he scored a try the night before for Kells A. And Martin O'Neill. Conversions, just the one from Kieran Fleming. For Dissington, they had try scorers from Jack Penrice, who grabbed a hat-trick, Gav Martin, who scored 2. Others going the way of Scott George, Tyrone Dalton, James Motum, Jack Spate, and conversions going the way of Stephen Clark, who kicked 5. Now, I've got to say, that is a tremendous second half performance. What do you reckon? I mean, putting so many points on Steve.
Yeah, it's absolutely excellent. That. I mean, it's great to see so many different scorers on there as well.
You'll like this next game then, because this was also played on Friday night. Hensingham A, 32 points. Cockermouth Titans, 42. Half time, it was 30 points to 16 in favour of Cockermouth. Now, Hensingham, again, they've got some fine young players. Scott Egan is one of those. He's represented, I think it was the under-17s last year for the Lions. He scored 2 tries. Matty Williams, Gary Hanlon, Keelan McEwen, and Ben Pearce went over for tries, with Ben Pearce kicking 3 goals and Dane Richardson kicking 1 goal for Hensingham. And for Cockermouth, well, a hat-trick came from Ryan Scott, who also added 7 goals. He had a right night out, didn't he, to be honest? Other scores going the way of Regan Tinian, Jamie Lightfoot, Alex Barton and Ashley Smith. A really comprehensive performance in the end there. And then on Saturday, this sounds like an absolute humdinger of a game. Maryport 23, Lauker 28. Half time, just a drop goal separated the teams, 11 points to 10 in favour of Maryport. And I love this. This guy must have the best name in rugby league at the moment. Maryport scorers came from Lee Skillen, Chris Ivison, Darren DeGraff, with conversions going the way of Josh Patterson, who kicked 3 goals, and also that important drop goal. In the end, though, it was Lauker who emerged victorious. 2 tries from Emerson Allen, 1 each from Mitchell Todd, Luke Stockton and Mullen Robinson. Conversions going the way of Jamie Scott, who added 4. And it's described here as a good hard game that could quite easily have gone either way. Maryport were in front for practically all the game. However, after continued pressure on the Maryport line, Lauker managed to get across to score the winning try and conversion with minutes of the game remaining. So some fantastic games there. You can't ask for anything more, can you? And then if we look forward to this weekend's fixtures, well, in the Holman Eagles and Cumberland League on Friday night, it's Hensingham A taking on Maryport, Kells A at home to Wafbrough Hornets A, and then on Saturday in the same league, Glasson Rangers are set to host Engrymont Rangers A, and Lauker take on Dissington.
Some good games there. I mean, I must admit, it's a healthy divisions up there, isn't it? I mean, a lot of those teams that you've mentioned, we discussed those. Obviously, they're senior teams from an NCL point of view, but I mean, you're looking further down there. The teams below, the lads below that,
I mean, it is encouraging from one respect, because as I mentioned, there's a couple of guys that have represented the England Community Lions programme that are involved and they're doing well at that level of rugby league. But I think if you do speak to most people in Cumbria, they're a little bit disappointed with the way that perhaps open age rugby is going in Cumbria, because most of the teams, the decent ones, have jumped into the National Conference League. So from a local point of competition, there's not as many teams featuring as there previously was. There's been issues, sort of with keeping people involved in the sport. We've talked about it a little bit already, haven't we? But when you're kind of like looking at that and you're going through, you are sort of wondering, aren't you, what's next in Cumbria in particular. And I certainly hope that there's an answer that somebody's got somewhere.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 situation, isn't it? You look at the Yorkshire Men's League, you look at the North West Men's League, and the amount of teams there are to be able to play against.
But even so, they're down as well in both of those competitions.
I was just going to say, I mean, they're travelling. Because obviously they want that competition, but there aren't that number of clubs to form I suppose a good established league format. And the likes of the Yorkshire Men's, the likes of the North West Men's, and obviously then you've got obviously the NCL, who's above all that for your Premier competition. That they obviously want, definitely the better teams want to be in that, because they want to be facing the best. And this all goes back down again, certainly lower down, it goes down to travel, doesn't it? It is huge amounts of miles they've got to put in. Those clubs have decided to go into North West Men's, because every other week, more than likely, they are travelling down to to this area to play the games.
Although I would hasten to add that you're probably putting more mileage on as a National Conference League team. I know certainly having spoken to people at West Hull last week when I was there, or a couple of weeks ago when I was there, they were saying about some of the trips that they face. I've had bits of communication from Wigan St Pat's, for example, of the cost of some of the coaches, and it's quite eye-watering at times, isn't it, when you're looking at those type of things. So I certainly hope that I hope that things are able to move on, but there's got to be kind of like an understanding of kind of what your modern community rugby league player is. Because let's be honest, over the last few years, the world of work's changed as well. There's far more weekend working than there ever was. So I can't blame anybody for saying, you know what, I'm gonna do a couple of extra shifts.
Yeah, the other thing as well, I know in the Express this week that our good friend Phil has been talking about the old change back to winter. Is that, should that be done? I mean, and obviously this is one of the things that falls into that where you regards playing in summer. You've got, like I said last week, this time now, these couple of months now, you will not get any teams that can. You take the injuries out of it, but you won't get teams that can put together a regular 17 because of holidays, because of other things, possibly work, etc. That's going to sort of fill in type of thing. There's that. Obviously, we've had the thing as well with hard pitches because of cancellations in various areas, which I'm sure we'll discuss a bit later on. So there's a lot of discussion that's raising its head again, and it does it every year to some extent. But again, it's one of those that sort of get everybody's opinion on it, and let's move forward, see what the best way forward is.
And again, if you've got an opinion, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, you know what, I want to actually put my club's point of view forward, then this is what we're here for, to be honest.
Definitely.
So, feel free to get in touch with either myself or Steve. You can do that in one of several ways, probably better over Twitter. That's certainly my preferred social media of choice, isn't it? I think I say way too much on Twitter, to be fair, at times. But it's at Dave Parkinson RL if you want to have a natter, or they can send the show a message as well, can't they?
They certainly can. That is at 13proam@gmail.com. If you want to email us there with obviously anything going on you have at your club, or certainly what we've just been on about, your thoughts on the old summer versus winter league debate, which, as we said, goes on every year. But obviously, it seems to be a different thing that sparks the discussion off each year. But we always get back to it. The other side of the coin is obviously how cold it is. Would you get as many spectators watching the game?
You know what? I don't know. But again, I was always a floating voter. So when like Lee had finished playing, I would go watching Lee Miners and Lee East. So I would always gravitate to whoever was at home. And the fixture odds used to be quite good in those days, because you could guarantee that if Lee Miners were at home one week, Lee used to be at home the next. So I never used to have to go anywhere but Lee to see a regular fix of Rugby League throughout the entire community season at that particular point in time. Now, I don't think it's gone quite that same way over recent seasons. There's been quite a few times, certainly during my time when I was involved with Lee East, where they were at home on the same time as Lee Miners, and then you're thinking, any floating voters, then they're probably not going to end up coming watching Lee East because of where they were divisionally, where Lee Miners have always been, rightly or wrongly, seen as that top echelon club, haven't they? Like within the community ranks. So it is interesting. I would question though, because there's a lot of players now that have come through the ranks. Because let's be honest, National Conference League has been summer since 2012. 11 years is a long time.
Yeah, there'll be quite a lot of players now that won't know winter rugby.
They'll never have played winter rugby.
No.
Yeah. You'll even get some players that, because they only come to the game late anyway, they'll have never known that. They'll have known perhaps of, starting off the pre-season training just after Christmas.
Yeah.
But they won't know of anything else, I'm playing right up till Christmas and that type of thing. But it is an interesting discussion, and certainly one that we would like to hear from clubs a little bit more about where they stand on it. Because it is something that crops up from time to time, isn't it? And it's one of those big elephants in the room when you're discussing community rugby league.
It seems each year that there's a different thing that sparks the conversation. It's not as if it's the exact same thing that's repeating itself. The conclusion that it gets to it is the same thing. These things never happened when they played winter. Arguably, some of them still did, and there were other issues in place when it was winter compared to summer. But and the other thing is, if you're playing it in winter and you've got no other sport, or you've not got you haven't got the professional rugby league playing, then you could well get more supporters coming in the sense of they want a rugby fix. Obviously they can't get it from watching the professional side, but okay, we'll support our local club until the professional,
until it starts up again.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's definitive. Those are just sort of my opinions of possibly things that should be thrown in the mix for the discussion.
You know what you need? You need a good spreadsheet and a good highlighter.
That's some highlighters, yeah.
I think given the lighting, I think I need a highlighter now. Premier Division. Let's have a look.
I'll switch the light on, David, all right?
We'll go National Conference League. So, Premier Division, the results this weekend. Hunslet Amateurs 18, York Acorn 12. It's so illuminating now. I can put my paper down and read it off the table. That's great. Thanks, Dee. So Hunslet Amateurs coming out on top in a real nip and tuck game against York Acorn. So McClelland, Shulver, and Will Cohen scoring a try. Now I don't know whether you've seen this try from Cohen.
No, I haven't. I must admit.
I have to say it is a fine rugby league effort from a fast winger. So he takes the ball 30 metres from his own line, starts running down the wing, bounces off a challenge, cuts inside and finds a way through the middle of the field, and then touches down right by the sticks.
Excellent.
Absolutely fantastic try, that one. So York Acorn scoring tries through Forsell and Speck. Conroy kicking 2 goals. Rouse, by the way, kicking 3 goals for Hunslet Amateurs. Then over at Lee Miners Rangers, West Hull seem to have gone into some right scoring form now, if the last 2 games are anything to go by. So they defeated Lee Miners Rangers by 58 points to 26. But get this, it was only 18-14 to them at half time. So that's for the second time in 2 National Conference League games. They scored 40 points in the second half. That's some going.
That is crazy, isn't it?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So, Miners Rangers thought they were getting a lot of things right when Grimes went over for 2. Burnett scored 2 tries. Hudson also chipped in with a try. Pilkington responding with 3 goals. And for Wests, Wood, Moore, Tyson Wilson, Jones, Shaw with 2. Arben and that man Lazenby, Mr. Plasticine, popping up for another 2 tries alongside Chambers, with Wilson kicking 9 goals. I've talked about them already, but they seem like they're a different prospect now they've got Wilson back from injury. He's such a classy player in the pack for West Hull. But the severity of that scoreline surprised me, considering the half-time score.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously Lee Miners have beat him in the corresponding fixture as well, haven't they?
Gave him extra ammunition to do the job this time.
Possibly. Yeah, and he did, yeah.
And they've done it with some riposte there, to be fair. So it still keeps them in 4th position in the league, by the way, despite them posting lots of tries. I'll put my teeth in before I start speaking again. This was perhaps the result of the weekend as far as the National Conference League was concerned. Lock Lane 52, Rochdale Mayfield 20. Now I do know that Rochdale Mayfield were missing a couple of players. We've reached that sort of time, but you've got to pay credit to Lock Lane. I mean, they've gone from being really struggling to right on the edge of the playoffs within the space of about 3 weeks, haven't they?
Yeah, and it's the old story, Dev. You only can beat what's put in front of you.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And that is... And that's not just a victory. 52 points is massive against the Rochdale Mayfield side. Okay, you know, there may be a few short, but even so, that is a tasty score there.
It certainly put them back on the buses anyway. And Lock Lane scoring a couple of tries there through Butler, who also kicked 5 goals. I wonder whether they were saying at the end, Rochdale Mayfield will get you, Butler, but they obviously got nowhere near him, did they, to be honest? Matt and Mosey also crossed for a hat-trick. Pick with 1 try, Price with 2, Bloomer with the other. 3 goals going the way of Turner as well. For Mayfield, English, Thaler, Quancy and McDade scoring tries, Parr kicking 2 goals. They were well out of it at half time though, in fairness, because it was 28 points to 8 in favour of Lock Lane, but that's outstanding, and that moves Lock Lane up into 6th position in the league. So they're going great guns at this moment in time. Another team that bounced back to form that has needed it over recent weeks was Thatto Heath Crusaders. They defeated Hull Dockers by 40 points to 4, and they had tries from Dickinson, Tracy, Crean, who scored 3, Carr and McDade, with Jones kicking 6 goals. For the Dockers, just the 1 try from Tim Heel. 18-4 they trailed at half time, and it didn't get much better for them in the second half. Unfortunately, the last couple of results have meant that Hull Dockers have slipped back into that relegation sort of battle. Where they're also joined, surprisingly, by Siddle. Now Siddle went down again, this time up at Wathbrow Hornets. The Hornets moving up back into 2nd place in the league following this result. So it was Wathbrow Hornets 28, Siddle 12. Tries from Moore, McCourt to grab 2, Walker Taylor and Holgate setting Wathbrow on their way. Walker Taylor with 2 goals, Moore with 2 goals, completing their scoring. And for Siddle, they had tries from West and Turner, 2 goals from Waite. And Siddle actually led this game at half time, 12 points to 10. So that's some second half as well from Wathbrow, while we're on the point of extenuating the positives of the second halves that some of these sides are having at the minute.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, you look at Wathbrow there, they've slipped up into second place behind all amateurs, just as you say, leapfrogging Rochdale Mayfield. But those 3 there at the top, I mean, it's the old putting a thin piece of paper between the 3 of them. We've got 1 on 22, 1 on 21 and 1 on 20 points. I mean, that's going to be good run into the end, the rest of the second half of the season.
And if any of them slip up, just look how West Hull aren't that far behind. They're only 4 points back, aren't they?
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. The bottom of the division, Lee Miners Rangers remain bottom. Wigan St Pat's didn't play. Unfortunately, their game against Kells was postponed due to an unfit pitch. Crossfields against Clockface Miners was also postponed for the same reason in Division 1. But for me, this next result says a lot about how this particular side is developing. Hewer 30, Ince Rosebridge 26. So I saw the corresponding fixture, which was the very first game that Hewer were playing in Division 1 for quite a while. And they lost very narrowly, if you remember my match report from way back when. I think Ince Rosebridge scored with the very last play of the game and converted to win 28-26. They turned the tables on them this time round, if you were. They've won by 30 points to 26. So tries from West, 2 from Elliott, 1 from Axe and 2 from Childs were the scoring for Heworth. 3 goals from the boot of Allen. And for Rosebridge, there were scores from Peter Valentine, Penny, Jones, Collier and Holcroft. Robbie Valentine kicking 3 goals, 20 points to 10 at half-time. There seems to have been a ferocious battle between two sides at Pilkington Rex. So Alton Raiders, who we spoke so well about at the start of the season, they seem to have slipped up a little bit of late, become a little bit more inconsistent with their league form. And Pilkington Rex have nearly been sleepwalking into a relegation battle, haven't they? They're still there. They're still only on 7 points from 12 games, but that's an encouraging result. They drew 10 points each with Alton Raiders. Morris scoring both of their tries, Tommy Connick kicking a goal, and for the Raiders, 2 tries from Hartley, 1 goal from Walpole. So that was the hardly anything to split between them, or nothing to split them, to be fair. Things seem to be getting better for Thornhill Trojans. They're closing the gap in a lot of these games, aren't they? So they went down to Skirler by 24 points to 16. Lum, Gibson and Mitchell scoring tries for the home side Trojans. Gibson kicking 2 goals. Skirler, though, coming out on top thanks to tries from Saltmer, O'Loughlin and Oliver, who grabbed 2. Gilby kicked 4 goals. More impressive about that was the fact that Skirler fought back from 16-4 down at half-time. I don't think I would have liked to have been in the dressing room hearing the team talk which went on there. He certainly fired them up, though, and did the job.
I'm just looking a bit there about Skirler's Harry Gotts, who he said suffered a setback as he sustained a concussion injury from which he happily appears to have recovered, but which necessitated an hour's delay until an ambulance arrived. Yes,
there was a large stoppage. I know that certainly I was aware of that because being the guy that receives a lot of the match reports that come through, they'd sent a message saying the game had been delayed for an hour, and they were hoping that it was going to get back underway. And our thoughts and best wishes are obviously with Gotts that he suffers no further reaction to that.
Totally agree.
And thankfully the game was able to continue. But more importantly, Harvey Gotts is good, isn't he?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Division 2 results. I've got to say, you don't get many more high-scoring ones than this one. Barrow Island 48, Mighton Warriors 36. Island scoring tries through Curry, Jones with 2, Sanderson scored 2, Ford, McBain and Wright the other try scorers, Jackson kicking 8 goals. And for Mighton Warriors, tries from Fisher, Walker, Robinson, R. Walker scoring the first try, K. Walker scoring a try there, and Slater scoring 2 alongside Brook. K. Walker also kicking 4 goals as well. We've been saying about Barrow Island that they've been on the end of what seemed to be a lot more losses this season. Yet, interestingly enough, they still find themselves kind of just on the coattails of the top 3 or 4, don't they?
Yeah.
Which is amazing when you consider that they've lost 7 games this season. So there's a lot for them to play for over the second half of the season. And the East Leeds revival continues. I know you were certainly really pleased with this one.
Yeah.
East Leeds 32, Wigan St Jude's 10. So East Leeds building on a 14 points to 0 half-time score to complete the job. Tries from Mensah, who grabbed 2. Robinson, Plunkett, who grabbed 2. He was a regular try scorer last season, wasn't he? Unfortunately, we've not seen that much of him this year, hence why we've not mentioned him on the show. Canterbury also scoring a try with Robinson kicking 4 goals. And for Jude, 2 tries from McNally and a certain Parkinson adding a goal as well. Milford's upturning form also continues. continues as well. They've won sort of 3 of the last 4 games, I think, if I'm not mistaken. They defeated Dewsbury Celtic 24 points to 14. That's a bit of a noteworthy result, that, for me, for Milford. They had tries from Jones, Brown, Bacon and Todd, with Best kicking 4 goals. And Celtic, they saw tries themselves through Thornton, Copley and Ginnelly, with Copley kicking 1 goal. They had it all to do with Dewsbury Celtic as well. They were trailing by 18 points to 4 at half time. Now, unfortunately, unfit pitches saw the end of games that would have took place at Normanton Knights against Waterhead Warriors, Saddleworth Rangers against Shawcross Sharks and Woolston Rovers against Dewsbury Moor Maroons. What's that done to the table? Well, Waterhead Warriors, despite not playing, still out on top. The Dewsbury Moor Maroons also not playing, still out on top. And Shawcross Sharks, who again didn't play, they're still sitting pretty in third. So really, it's been all about what's happened beneath those top 3 or 4 teams, hasn't it, this week?
Because Woolston Rovers are next, and they didn't play either, did they?
No. So really, out of the top 5 in the division, only Dewsbury Celtic played, didn't they? So that was quite interesting. So your bottom 3 in the division at the moment, Myton Warriors have 7 points, Saddleworth Rangers have 6 points, East Leeds have 6 points.
Which just shows, we were on about this, weren't we, a couple of weeks ago. A team strings a couple of games together, a couple of wins together, and suddenly it can give you that bit of momentum. East Leeds are at the bottom on 6 points, but they've got the team 1, 2, 3, 4 teams above them who are still in single figures, so they can still, if they can carry this, a little bit of a resurgence on, they can start to climb up there. And I think they've got a good game this week as well coming up.
The bottom of that division is looking really interesting,
tight,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very tight. And it looks pretty tight in Division 1 as well. I know we didn't really touch upon the, like the actual league table there, but you've got Clockface Miners on 10 points, Crossfields on 8, Pilkington Rex on 7, Ince Bridge on 7. Thornhill Trojans starting to kick a bit, but still just with the 1 point. Right, in Division 3, again, some interesting results here as well. Beverley 34, Driglington 12, an excellent return to form for Beverley, this one. Tries from Gay, who grabbed 2, Rose, Hardy, Clark and Howdle, the other scorers, Josh Poskett kicking 5 goals. And for Drigg, it was tries from Hallis and Richardson, 2 goals from Mick Sanson. Eastmoor Dragons, yes, you've guessed it, they've finally got the Dave Monkey off the back. I've spoken to him. They've bounced right back to form. 48 points to 0 defeat of Seaton Rangers. So Raby scoring a hat-trick. Johnson, Roberts, Powell, R. Nicholson, D. Nicholson and Hudson scoring tries, with Johnson kicking 3 goals, Walker kicking 3 goals. They had a good game. They were 26-0 up at half-time. Get this for the result, though. So Ellenborough Rangers, we all know that they're fresh into the National Conference this year. They're playing the very first season. They've been going pretty well in Division 3, testing out a lot of the top sides. They played against the second-placed Oldham St Anne's and defeated them by 20 points to 6. So Andy Ossel scored a couple of tries. Taylor grabbed a try, with Owen Hoyles kicking 4 goals. And for Saints, just the 1 try from them. Skilling getting it, Pogson kicking the goal. 12-6 and all to play for at half-time. Ellenborough Rangers with a very controlled second-half performance. Impressive from them. That, to me, suggests that they're going to be, if we didn't know already, in the mix come the time when we're handing out the awards.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look there, Oldham St Anne's just 2 points above them, and it was a big match in that's, we talk about hanging on to coattails, as it were. I mean, it could have been, if that could have been the other way around, could have, opened up a little bit of a gap, but like you say, yep, they're third in the mix.
Lee Eastall have lost a little bit of ground, to be honest. I know they still sit top of the table, but they've now played 2 more games than Oldham St Anne's and Ellenborough, and they're just 4 points ahead of Ellenborough and 2 points ahead of Oldham St Anne's. This was after a brilliant performance from Hensingham. Butterworth, Kelly scoring a couple of tries, Egan and Price also going over for scores as well, as far as Hensingham was concerned. Dalton kicking 3 goals. And for Lee East, Prescott, Wharton, Helen and Clark going over, along with Bernard Aborgai. He went over, and Jordan Hallam kicking 2 goals. nothing between these two sides. A really, really entertaining encounter. And I made up for Hensington. Yes, I know Lee East is still my club, I suppose, after all those years of association with them. So I do always look out for the results, and I'm always happy to see them doing well. But Hensington have been through a lot, haven't they? When you think of what's happened with Logan Holgate, the fact that they're constantly raising money this season, they know what it's all about. They've had a tough year, and I'm really pleased that they've got their third win of the season. Now, some things are more important than rugby league, and I've got to again credit this togetherness that we have within our sport, because there was a really generous money donation from Lee East to Hensington at the end of the game.
Oh, that's superb.
To go to the Lions Fund, the Lions Heart Fund, which is an unbelievable. We all know that it's very difficult for people to find extra money at the moment with what's going on, mortgage rates as they are, cost of living, etc., etc. So for Lee East and everybody involved to come up with a donation there, it's really heartfelt, and it means a lot. It means a lot to this sport, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's what the sport's like, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's the salt of the earth, and we go back to this about what things were like during COVID, and that just typifies exactly what this sport's like. So big ups there to Lee East, but again, it doesn't surprise me because superb clubs.
Now, just the one other result to tell you about, it involved Millham up against Bentley, and again, recent form has seen Millham a little bit up and down in the last few weeks, but they bounced back to form with a 36-12 defeat of those men from Bentley. Try scored from Wilson, Lupton and so Mackie, who grabbed 2. Thompson, McQuiston and Kelly also going over. Postlethwaite kicking 4 goals. And for Bentley, they had tries from Seaman and Brahm. Craswell kicking 2 goals. Millham doing much of the work in the first half, leading by 22 points to 6 and getting the job done. Now, National Conference League fixtures this week. We don't have that many to talk about. So it all kicks off on Friday evening, and I have to admit, I'm quite keen to get over to Yorkshire to see this one. So it's Shawcross Sharks against Dewsbury Celtic in Division 2. Another one of those, Dewsbury Derby matches that we spoke about, at the start of the year. I know that it's a big weekend for Shawcross because they're having Shark Fest. It's the big festival weekend. So as part of it, Dewsbury Celtic have agreed to switch the game to Friday night, so it's good to see the local sides, coming together for something a little bit more there. On Saturday in the Premier Division, it's Hull Dockers at home against West Hull, Siddle at home against Hunslet Amateurs, and in Division 1, West Bowling take on Egremont Rangers. In Division 2, Myton Warriors host East Leeds. That'll be a fascinating encounter with Wigan St Jude's up against Milford. And just the one game to tell you about from Division 3 on the fixture list, that's Driglington taking on Seaton Rangers. Any of those you're looking forward to there, Steve?
It's one of those where you've got to sort of just wait a little bit to sort of decide which is the best one, sort of from a logistics point of view, to get to, because that's the way it is at the moment, unfortunately.
Oh, definitely. And I wouldn't be looking anywhere else, really, to be fair, and you do always have to consider those type of things, don't you? But again, interesting goings on in the National Conference League.
Do you like the West Bowling versus Egremont Rangers, though? I must admit that, because having seen Egremont and knowing what West Bowling are like, that will be a good one to watch.
I'm not sure whether that's going to be Egremont's strongest team, though, because I did hear on the grapevine that they won't be travelling with their best team because of other commitments that are going on. But it is just rugby league and
that's right,
community rugby league these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
So some really interesting ties to come. Where shall we go next?
Should we go to? Should I do the Northwest Men's results?
Oh yes.
Right, Northwest Men's results for this Saturday, just gone the 17th of June. Kicking off, Premier Division, Inley versus Latchford Albion was off. Blackbrook versus Shevington Sharks was off. Easham Atoms 6, Ashton Bears 28. Finch 32, Alton Farmworth Hornets 12. Down into Division 1, we've got Cadishead Rhinos 12, Dalton at 48. Chorley Panthers versus Ulverston was postponed. Wigan Springview 36, West Elton Lions 18. Wigan St Cuthberts versus Tatterheath Crusaders A was postponed. Down to Division 2, we got Burton Wood Bridge 42, Ashton Bears A 4. Goulburn Parkside versus Lee Miners Rangers A, no result available. As with Highpool Tigers and Roost Pioneers. Rochdale Mayfield A 0, Woolston Rovers A 24. I'm probably, from my point of view, I'm not a huge shock in this division. Walney Central 42, Newton Storm 10. Newton Storm played Walney Central first game of the season, and Walney came out winners. It was very close, just a couple of points in it. And I know Newton were buoyed after last week's victory over Rochdale Mayfield A. And look to be going there with, full of confidence. But from what I can gather, a similar sort of situation where, there was a few players were missing, as it were. But still, I would have thought 42 points to 10 will sting, I must admit. So moving on to Division 3, we've got Clotfest Chargers A versus Langworthy Reds was postponed. Higginshaw 10, Blackpool Scorpions 6. Rochdale Hornets 10, Crossfields A 44, Westbank Bears 34, Garswood Stags 10. Division 4, we got Banky Bulls up against Blackpool Stanley was postponed. Garswood Stags Reserves 22, Liverpool Lizards 40.
That's a noteworthy victory, isn't it?
Huge that. And we've got to say, obviously we had the lads on when they first started, and then they were on at the beginning of the season, and they'd moved down because they've felt that competitive, they couldn't compete in the league or the division that they were in, and sensibly they've stepped down and they started put together some good results and some good wins. So well done guys on that, and keep it going. Preston and Southwood Rebel Rabbitohs 34, Bolton 18. Runcorn Highfield 24, Culture Eagles 0. That was a forfeit by Culture Eagles. Alliance Division, Inch Rosebridge A versus Pilks Rex A postponed. Oldham St Anne's A 26, East Leeds A 22. That's a nice close game. And then finally, Orrell St James A against Wigan St Jude's A, no results. And the fixtures coming up for this weekend, well, there's some good ones because it's the Cup Trophy, Alliance Cup, etc. And we're going to start on Saturday the 24th of June, and another big one. A repeat of the game that was played a couple of weeks ago on Friday Night Lights. It's Erskine versus Ashton Bears. And then we've got Alton Farmworth Hornets. They're up against Orrell St James. Both of those games are really, if I'm not wrong, that's the top 4 in that division. So whichever one you want to go to, all of those, I would say.
You can't go wrong there, can you?
Yeah, you can't go wrong. But you'll see 2 cracking games there. Then we've got the trophy. We've got Newton Storm there at home against Banky Bulls, and Higginshaw up against Burton Wood Bridge. Now, I know I saw a post from the Banky Bulls who were obviously delighted to be in the semi-finals, because obviously, really they only came back together as an open age side, I think, from January, and doing really well. And from what I can gather, one of the last matches, they had over 300 people watching. So I'm sure they'll be look at taking quite a few over to Newton, and that won't be easy. And I've got a sneaking suspicion that Banky may turn Newton over there. Honestly, I think it'll be one of those where you've got to be on your guard. Banky will be up for it. Higginshaw versus Burton Wood Bridge. For me, Burton Wood Bridge are on fire. I can see them getting through there. Alliance Cup, we've got Lee Miners Rangers A versus Inch Rose Bridge A, and then Thatto Crusaders A versus Lee East A. And then other games that are going on, actually, from a league point of view, we have got Hindley. They will be taking on Latchford Albion in the Premier Division. And Shevington, they will be going over to Shevington Sharks will be going over to Blackbrook, which that should be a good game as well. Division 1, we've got Wigan Springview versus Dalton. Division 3, we've got Clotface Chargers A. They welcome Waterhead Warriors A. Preston and South Rebel Rabbitohs will take on Liverpool Lizards. And Garswood Stags Reserves will play Blackpool Stanley. Then we've got in the Alliance Division Piltrex A versus Oral St James A. And that's all the results and, of course, the fixtures for next week from the North West Men's, Parker.
Crossing over to the Yorkshire Men's League, and the results saw in the Cup last week, Newsom Panthers 80, Brighouse Rangers 6, and then your results on Saturday in the Premier Division, Siddle Academy 48, King Cross Park 10, Westgate Common against Fryston Warriors saw no result. Division 1 saw Hull Wyke 10, Ossett Trinity Tigers 32, Nottingham Outlaws 22, Charleston Rovers 32, and Stanley Rangers 30, Keighley Albion 12. In Division 2, it was Illingworth 24, Farnley Falcons 0, Kirkburton Cougars 46, Odsall Sedberg 12, Mould Green 36, Greetland All-Rounders 26. And then in Division 3, Castleford Panthers 50, Garforth Tigers 18. No result between Elland and Underbank Rangers. Wyke 50, Sherburn Bears 12, Methley Warriors 18, Seacroft Sharks 22. That sounded like a cracking game, didn't it, in Division 3 there. Then Division 4A, Scarborough Pirates 24, Leeds Ackies 0, Batley Boys 0, Bramley Buffaloes 24, Goole Vikings 46, York St John Barbarians 8. Cracking result there for those Goole Vikings. Division 4B, Mould Green A 0, Keighley Albion Academy 24, Brighouse Rangers A 38, King Cross Park Academy 8, Birkenshaw Blue Dogs 70, Todmorden 4, West Craven Warriors against Newsom Panthers A, no result there. And in Division 4C, Dearne Valley Bulldogs 36, Rycroft Hammers 6, Derby Elks 34, Sherwood Wolfhunt 26. Sounds like another cracking game there between those two. Dodworth Miners 16, Upton 18. What a thriller that was. And finally, Hemsworth Dragons 24, Sheffield Forgers 0. No results at all in the whole league. West Hull against Cottingham Tigers was postponed. And in the National Conference League East Division, no result from Bentley and Normanton. Heworth against Hunslet, ARLFC was off. Alton Raiders 24, Featherstone Lions 0. So it sounds like we were wondering whether, after their withdrawal from the National Conference League, whether they would actually take place in any other competition this season. That suggests that they're not going to, doesn't it? If that's a 24-0 result. And York Acorn against Lock Lane was called off. In the NCL West, Dewsbury Moor against Saddleworth Rangers, no result. Shawcross Sharks against East Leeds, so it's no result. And Stanningley 66, Milford 0. Your fixtures this week in the Yorkshire Men's League all kicks off on Friday. York Acorn against Lock Lane. And in the Cup on Saturday, it's Doncaster Tollbar taking on Newsom Panthers. Keighley Albion against Siddle Academy. 2 cracking games in prospect there. And then in the Trophy, it's Seacroft Sharks against Bradford Dudley Hill. Greetland All-Rounders against Queensbury. And in the Shield, it's Bramley Buffaloes set to host the Keighley Albion Academy. And in the NCL Alliance Cup, it's Bentley taking on Hunslet Amateurs, Alton Raiders taking on Normanton Knights. And your league fixtures this coming weekend. In the Premier Division, Almondry Spartans, they'll take on Brighouse Rangers. In Division 1, Ossett Trinity Tigers, they head over to Charleston Rovers. Division 3 sees Wyke take on Castleford Panthers, Elland at home to Garforth Tigers. Division 4A, Batley Boys host Leeds Ackies, Westgate Common A host Scarborough Pirates. And in Division 4B, Todmorden are set to play against the West Craven Warriors. While in Division 4C, Derby Elks, at this time the home side against the Dearne Valley Bulldogs. Rycroft Hammers, they host Hemsworth Dragons. And in the Hull Division, we've got Hull Dockers set to take on East Hull. And in the NCL West, Milford hosting Saddleworth Rangers. Plenty of rugby league to get your teeth into this weekend in the Yorkshire Men's League. By the way, if you're involved at one of these Yorkshire Men's League clubs and you're saying, these guys never tell us much more about what's going on, send us a match report.
Please do. We'll certainly. Or if you do want to do a little match report on your phone and send it through to us, we'll certainly play it. Always adds to the flavour and helps us to get to know these clubs better, and obviously get some, some action with regards to what games there are.
Now, talking about games, this coming weekend, there's a Manchester Magic weekend, right? Because it involves a bit of PDRL on Saturday. It involves some magical rugby league from the Wheelchair Super League. So London Roosters are set to host against Wigan Warriors, Hull FC again against Warrington Wolves, Leeds Rhinos against the Halifax Panthers. So you're going to see loads and loads of good rugby league. And if that's not enough, well, you could get yourself over to Salford on Saturday as well, because it's the finals day of the Women's Nines. So we talked about it briefly a few weeks ago, didn't we, how a lot of the teams involved in Women's Rugby League, they played off against each other.
That's
in
right,
five pools. Yeah. We've now had confirmation of, sort of who's going to be taking part. And there was a wild card which was set to be announced. I don't know whether it has been announced, whether it's going to be announced by the time that this podcast is going out, but I can tell you it's Cardiff.
Yes. I mean, and to be fair, if I'm not wrong, they were the best of the rest, weren't they?
They were. When you looked at the for and against record and sort of how they went, they were in a tough competition which involved Leeds Rhinos, only just lost out to Leeds as well on that. Now, I know we're talking, it's very different, from going 13 aside to going 9 aside, but they played some really good stuff on that day, and for me, fully deserved to be invited back into the competition.
Yeah, well, that's the fairest way, isn't it? At the end of the day, I think. I mean, if you're the best of the rest, I mean, it shows you've got something about you. And from a Cardiff point of view as well, it's great. It's great to show the spread of the game. It's not just up here in the north, as it were.
Definitely. The other teams that are going to take place: Leeds Rhinos, Wigan Warriors, St Helens, Warrington Wolves.
Are York in there by any chance?
York, yeah. How could one forget York? The York Valkyrie, absolutely flying at the moment. Now they defeated the Cardiff side 54-0 in the quarter-final of the Challenge Cup, and I suppose, as you would expect, the teams that were expected to get through actually did get through, and we've had those announcements as well, haven't we, with the semi-finals of the Women's Challenge Cup. So we see York, we see York up against St Helens, don't we?
Yeah.
And we also see Leeds Rhinos up against Wigan. So that was after Wigan defeated Huddersfield 46-10. A game which I didn't expect to be that much of a runaway. But
as it was, yeah.
But I think that Wigan played particularly well on the day and scored some quite spectacular tries at points as well.
Wasn't there a repeat try of similar to the one that Wigan scored against St Helens?
Oh, Grace Banks. I mean, she takes this ball above her head. I mean, you could argue, until day's night that it could potentially have just been a 20-metre restart because she takes it behind her own line.
Yeah.
But she wasn't hanging around. She caught the ball. She swerved past one defender, cut in behind another one, and then good night, senorita. Off she went down the other end of the field, full 100-metre sprint, with only referee Freddie Lincoln keeping up with her.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, I noticed.
She showed some amazing pace, did the referee on that score.
Because if I remember rightly, it wasn't Freddie at one of the finals that we were up on Featherstone.
I think he was. Yeah, I think he was. Yeah. It gave some good memories, that game, actually, as well. Perhaps not from a Huddersfield point of view, and I'm sure that going on into the second half of the season, they'll be hoping to do a lot better in the Women's Super League. But at least now they can concentrate just on that, can't they, and bringing that side together. But yeah, I do find it interesting though that Leeds seem to have got a home tie out of that. I thought they might have swapped them round a bit.
I noticed that as well.
I didn't get it. I don't get why that they are now playing at Headingley.
Isn't it because they've put them both as double headers and as both, if I'm not wrong, both Wigan teams, both the men's first team and obviously the girls' team are playing there. And I think it's same with the St Helens one as well, isn't it?
It is. So they're being played at Warrington.
Yeah. But at least that's a neutral venue, isn't it?
Oh,
I can see where you're coming from there.
Yeah. But I just found it quite intriguing when I saw it, and it seems I wasn't the only person to be thinking that, because there was quite a bit of a reaction on Twitter as well.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure there's, as you said, there's really good reasons behind it, but it would be nice to hear how they come to that sort of decision as well. And was there any other grounds that were in the fray for hosting semi-finals?
It's the old story, isn't it? If it means moving the game forward, then fair dues. But if you do things with clarity, then at least, as much as you might not like, at least you'll understand the reasons about or around it. I noticed that Leah Burke for St Helens has been ruled out for the rest of the season because of injury.
Yeah, it was a really bad knock that she took actually in the derby match against Wigan last week. A real heavy contact, strangely enough involving Grace Banks, who we've already spoken about in this segment. Again, hardly anything in it. You know, just one of those innocuous type of challenges. A kicker come in, which Burke had contested, and the next thing you know, it looked like she was going to get away from Banks, who managed to catch up with her from nowhere and actually brought her down to ground, and it seems that the injury happened within that tackle. But it's a really sad loss, that, because she's one of the Women's Super League's best players. Without a doubt. She's a Leigh fan as well, so I've got to speak highly of a fellow Leither, haven't I, to be honest. But, I do wish her all the best in the recovery, because it's going to take a little bit of time, isn't it? That. Yeah,
and that's important, because I saw this week as well on Twitter that Jodie Cunningham been in hospital, and she's had some, I'm not sure it's cartilage or cleaning out of her knee, I think she said, which she's had done, and obviously she's praised the support staff at Saints, and thanked Saints for their obviously the care, etc. And I would hope that would be the minimum for any, certainly the female teams, because obviously, like I've said many times, they're not playing for money. A lot of these guys have got jobs, and girls have got jobs, and it's important that we look after them. I think that's the minimum can be done. So all the best to Leah on getting her surgery sorted out. Sounds like it was, I think it's a cruciate ligament injury. And of course to Jodie Cunningham, who's going to be out for several weeks. But I'm sure we'll be seeing her on up and down on the old commentary platform, because obviously she does a good job on that, like a lot of the girls do. We've said it before, because I know was you working with Caitlin Beavers?
I was, yeah. So I was working with Caitlin Beavers at the weekend. Hadn't met Caitlin before, but I did say to her, I said, I remember you scoring one of the most memorable tries that I've commentated on from a Women's Super League point of view. I said, it came in a Challenge Cup semi-final. Do you remember it? You was playing against St Helens. And she said, what? That one would have went 90 metres. That's my favourite try, that. So it was really nice to sort of meet up with Caitlin and to get to work with her. I think that, again, another excellent voice within Women's Rugby League, and someone who speaks so positively about the game, and I really enjoy the company, actually. I think that she's got a natural flair for commentary, and I know that she'll be hoping to get back on the field to play sooner rather than later. But I'm quite happy sharing a mic with her again.
And as I said, they're all very good at it. They're all very good.
So that's the Women's Rugby League all updated with you for this week. What happened in the regional leagues? Well, in the London Premier Division, it was London Chargers A50, London Scholars A6. In the East of England Premier Division, Hemel Stags 24, Bedford Tigers A0, North Hearts Crusaders A32, Anglian Vipers 46, a decent result that for the Anglian Vipers, another team that we spoke to at the start of the season.
That's right,
nice to see them picking up a couple of wins as they go along as well. In the Merit League, sadly no result between Canviate Knights and Invicta Panthers, and the game between Eastern Rhinos A and Cambridge Pride was postponed. In the Midlands Premier Division, wow, Just look at this result. Coventry Bears 40, Leamington Royals 44.
Oh.
Then in the Merit League, no result between Nottingham Outlaws A and the North East Worcestershire Ravens, and no result. Worcester Rebels against Leamington Royals A was called off. In the North East, no result from Walls End Eagles against Jarrow Vikings, and in the Championship, Yarm Wolves against Gateshead Storm was postponed. We do have one result to bring you from the North Wales League, however. That saw the Wrexham Crusaders 12, the Conway Celts 64, and then a full range of results from South Wales League saw Torvin Tigers 32, Rhondda Outlaws 34. Sounds like a cracking game, that one. South Wales Saints 6, Cynon Valley Cavaliers 56, and the Cardiff Blue Dragons 22, Bridgend Blue Bulls 50. And then from Scotland, Glasgow 4, Edinburgh Eagles 64. So your fixtures this coming weekend from around the other regional leagues sees the Midlands Merit League of the Nottingham Outlaws A set to host Sherwood Wolfhunt A. And then on Saturday, that's on Friday by the way. It's a curious one. Must be an evening kick-off, that. Can't imagine that going on in the middle of the day. People have got work, surely. Then on Saturday, in the London Premier Division, Elmbridge Eagles, they host Brixton Bulls. West Warriors A travel over to Medway Tigers. In the East of England Cup, it's Bedford Tigers A against the Hemel Stags. And in the Merit League, Eastern Rhinos A are set to host Canvey Knights. In the Midlands Merits League, it's the Lincoln Lions against the Boston Buccaneers. North East Worcestershire Ravens taking on the Staffordshire Quantums. I definitely need to speak to them, don't I?
Yeah, we say that every time because
just for where that name's come from.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but it's a cracking name.
It
Sounds like it should be a Marvel character, doesn't it?
Staffordshire Quantums.
Yeah. Do you not think so? They could be extras in the X-Men.
Yeah. So it could be sweets, couldn't they?
They could be, really.
Have you tried a
well.
Staffordshire Quantum?
Hey, it's better than a Werther's original. Other sweets are available. Prefer a Treebore mint. Still, after all these years, you know.
Yeah.
Right, back to these fixtures. In the Premier Division, in the Midlands, it's Coventry Bears against the Birmingham Bulldogs, Telford Raiders against the Oxford Cavaliers. And then in the South West League, Premier Division, Exeter Ravens against Tarker Storm, Cambridge Trojans take on the Devon Sharks. And in the West of England Premier Division, Swindon St George at home to Somerset Vikings. While in the North Wales League, the Clwyd Cobras are set to go off against the Wrexham Crusaders. The Bangor Buffaloes, meanwhile, host Conway Celts. And the South Wales League, those Cynon Valley Cavaliers, they're at home against the Torvin Tigers. Bridgend Blue Bulls are set to host the South Wales Jets. South Wales Saints are at home against the Aberavon Fighting Irish. And in Scotland, it's only the matter of Edinburgh against Glasgow again. Should be interesting stuff, shouldn't it?
Return fixture, yeah.
Again, just to tell you about some other little results. So in the Barrow ARL League, the Furnace Tiles League, nonetheless, on Friday evening, Dalton 24, Walney Central 0, Ulverston 24, Barrow Island 0, Millom 36, Askham 18. And your fixtures this weekend in the Harry Warman Cup, it's Barrow Island taking on Walney Central, Ulverston against Askham, and in the Furnace Tiles League, it's Millom set to play against Dalton. And just some results finally to bring you from the Southern Conference. Bristol All Gold 28, Brentwood Eels 16, and North Hearts Crusaders 20, Bedford Tigers 26. No fixtures from that particular competition this coming weekend, Steve.
Right, that's a lot of rugby league, isn't it, Parker? Even though there's reduced fixtures as well.
We get through a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
We do get through a lot. Now, were you wanting to have a chat about something else that was happening in the world of rugby league?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were talking there, certainly going through some of the NCL fixtures, and there was quite a few games called off because of the pitches weren't fit. And it was strange because although obviously we must have had the better of the weather this weekend over this side of the Pennines, because there didn't seem to be any called off specifically over in the Yorkshire side of the world. No,
there was a lot more that were called off over this side of the Pennines, weren't there, Steve?
Yeah, and which got me thinking. I mean, fair enough. I totally agree with that. If the pitch is too hard, it can we've said it before, it can be just as dangerous as getting a head-eye tackle as somebody going down and possibly bashing their head against a rock-hard pitch. But what's the protocol? Have you any idea what the protocol is with regards to who calls the game off? Is it a referee who's obviously refereeing the match on the day?
Well, I have to admit, that was always one my impression. But it seems to have been different this time round. Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know too much about it,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest. It's just there was a raft of emails which were starting to, sort of be sent Thursday and Friday last week about officials mainly going to North West Men's League clubs of representing, different referee societies across the North West.
Yeah.
Who must have been asked to do the job.
Yeah.
Going out, inspecting pitches, ruling them off.
Yeah. And what days was this?
So this was Thursday and Friday. Okay. But initially they were ruling out what would have been the junior games that were happening on the Sunday.
Yeah.
Now again, I could be really wrong here, and I'm fair enough. I want people to put me right, in what I'm about to say. But I thought up until very recently it was a case of you could have another match official whose game it might have been at, say, like National Conference League, then inspecting the pitch the day after and then deciding whether or not a game can go on.
Yeah.
But it seems that is not the case now. And when those initial findings were fed back, teams had to call entire weekend programmes off.
Yeah. Because in this day, well, certainly now, so a lot of clubs who try and make ends meet, I know, certainly, because I was talking to the guys who went up to Walney Central from Newton. Obviously, they stayed around like a lot of clubs do. They have a couple of beers after the game. But Walney had a guy on, a singer on playing guitar, etc., which the lads loved. But obviously they've gone to the trouble to do that, and I know a lot of clubs do put entertainment on that sort of slots in just around that, maybe around 6 o'clock onwards, to try and keep anybody else who is in and around the club, to try and keep them in. So obviously it can put money over the bar, and it all helps the coffers to help to run the clubs, etc. Look, first and foremost, I totally agree that if a pitch isn't suitable to play on and it's a danger to the players, then that's correct. But my understanding was, and logic dictates, well, surely that's down to the referee on the day to do that. Because I look at it this way: if that same approach is done with professional teams, surely the same sort of furore would probably even more so would come up, because the amount of sort of catering, etc. they put forward. But if it's done on the actual day, I mean, if it's done midweek, surely there's a couple of days there with the weather could change, because it has changed dramatically over this last week. Or again, I was looking on Twitter where, I'm not sure exactly which team it was, but they got the local fire brigade in to help them to water the pitch. There's various ways of getting around this, but that's surely if somebody says on a Thursday or Friday, look, your pitch is not fit, but we'll have it inspected again by the match official on the day, maybe the morning or lunchtime before. And I know it's disappointing to players if it's called off, but if it's given a good enough chance, and obviously the club's point of view.
I mean, I will read you something that was in the League Express this week, about this whole set really, and it says amateur fixtures were increasingly affected as the hot spell throughout the United Kingdom continued up to Saturday. League Express previously reported that the Impact Performance National Conference League Division 2 match between Wigan St Jude's and Normanton Knights, scheduled for June the 11th, had been postponed. Jude's official Alan Greenall said, "We had the referee look at the pitch on the Friday and Saturday, and he called it off on the second day as it was rock hard. We had got some water on certain areas as requested, but he wasn't happy. The previous week's match at Woolston was nearly postponed at the warm-up because the referee wasn't happy to play. The dry weather is becoming a problem. We called all junior and youth games off today, June the 18th. Wigan had a massive storm for about 6 hours last night, and in the early hours of this morning, hopefully making a difference. We had a French team at Sudes yesterday, with the under-13s playing a curtain raiser before us. They had to play tag rugby, which was a bit disappointing for them, but they had a good time. There had been similar concerns in the North West Youth Under-18s League, with Chair Tammy Smith advising when submitting results. Not many games went ahead today, June the 11th, with pitches being too hard. The following day, Monday, June the 12th, her colleague, Vice Chair Darren Hayes, emailed clubs stating, "As we have seen this weekend, the weather has been the hottest to hit the country so far this year. Looking at the forecast for the week ahead, the mercury is to hit 27-28 degrees with no sign of any rain. If pitches are hard now, the chances are they will be no better come the weekend, nor during the week. We have already had a club close all pitches for training and games for the next 7 days. A very sensible approach in the circumstances, and as leagues, we will support this decision." He continued, "We had issues over the weekend with match officials calling games off after turning up, with clubs not in agreement or having travelled. The league's stance is that a referee must call the game off if they are appointed. However, if clubs are calling off younger age group games, then common sense must apply. We will allow the club to blanket call all games off if necessary in these circumstances. This will ensure teams do not travel and clubs do not pay for match officials and turn up and call them off." Hayes advised, "A simple test is a key. However, the best way is to hold a pitchfork out and drop it to the ground. If it stands up, on that point is playable. If it falls, it's too hard. Please be sensible in your assessments and call early where possible. We will hold appointments until Wednesday morning for referees, but please let us know prior if you are not playing." Hayes told League Express, "I have to say the effort being put in by these guys is unreal, with lots of travelling around grounds doing inspections for the clubs." Later in the week, Smith says, "We have had 7 clubs up to now close pitches and expect more to go. Our Northwest referees are going out to help clubs if they are unsure." With the situation forecast to continue, Dave O'Dowd of the Northwest Youth Under-15s League, in responding to League Express's request for fixtures for the week ending Sunday, June 25th, emphasised there is a high probability that these games will change because of the mass postponements we have already had in the Northwest counties due to pitch conditions. Donna Simons, General Secretary of the Yorkshire and Junior Youth ARL, emailed on Friday evening, "The clubs are only just starting to do pitch inspections, so quite a few will be off."
So was it the clubs who were requesting the referees to come and have a look at the pitches?
Well, that gives me no further indication. That actually sounds like, well, I don't know who's made that decision really.
No.
It sounds like it's getting backed from the Northwest counties, doesn't it? And the Northwest Junior Leagues. I guess it's going to be one that rumbles on. We'll try and find out a little bit more about it. If you know more about it, or if there's something that we've said that isn't quite right, we want to find out about it as much as anybody, to be honest, because it's only right that we're able to report this sort of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And terms as I say, it's important. I can understand, and terms as I say, safety first is always paramount at the end of the day. But there's got to be some sensible, sort of decisions about it. Is it one of those where, fair enough, we'll get it examined midweek, and then obviously things can be cancelled. I'm saying things aren't booked. Usually things are booked in advance anyway. But I can understand the travelling. If you're going to travel all the way from Cumbria, for instance, all the way down to the northwest for the game, and then suddenly it's cancelled on the day. But it's one of those things as well. If the pitches actually fit on the day, yet it's already been cancelled on the Wednesday. I know currently at the moment, we are having a really hot spell. But if you just look over the last week, the amount of rain that we've had put down is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it's surprising pitches weren't flooded this weekend because they were that hard.
Yeah.
But as Dave says, if you can give us more clarity on that one, we can pass it on to obviously all our listeners please get in touch and we can do that.
And if you're a league official as well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, like, I don't know how to approach this really. Yes, I do a lot of the press when it comes to the National Conference League, but even that has been a little bit. I've not known what to say about it really, because there's been that much that has been up in the air, and there was that many emails that were going round. I didn't know what could be said and what could be good and what couldn't be said. So initially, what I decided that I would do last week would be just put something out saying what games in the National Conference League were off.
Yeah.
Because that was as much as I could do. I know that it does go deeper than that in certain places, and I know that there's a lot of issues that are. As you've already touched upon, with other clubs having arranged stuff, what sort of give and take do you get? And again, like, if I've said anything wrong, I want somebody to put me right, because this is part of what we're about. And I give the right of reply. So if there is you ring, you're listening to me and you're thinking, you know what, just what Dave and Steve talked about is a load of complete bull. We want to be put right, don't we?
Yeah, because the bottom line, we're only putting forward opinions that are our opinions and opinions of other people as well. So if we can get the correct facts to put out there, it lets people make better decisions, to help the game move forward at the end of the day. That's what we're all here for.
It's another good talking point for us, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why we're here. Some say we want to report on the games, etc. But when we go around to these games and we're talking to people, we're talking to coaches, we're talking to players, we're talking to supporters, and we'll always get in conversations. And because we do, sort of go to lots of different places, and it's surprising how the same questions are all being discussed at different places. So if we can bring them out as a whole and get other people in on the discussions, I think we're doing our job.
Fair enough. Anything else, Steve?
Not at the moment, mate. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'll be going out to, obviously, watching the Banky Bulls against Newton Storm. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, that one.
Well, I'm still really tempted to get over to Dewsbury at the weekend, certainly on Friday evening, purely because my other commitments are taking me away from Community Rugby League at the moment, aren't they? I'm either doing international games or I'm, behind microphones and things.
Yeah, I'm just watching games of rugby that haven't got 13 players. That's terrible there.
Yeah, but obviously if you are in Salford and you're fancying, some good entertainment, and the Women's Rugby League Nines finals day that's going to take place on Saturday morning and afternoon is going to be a cracking bit of entertainment.
Whereabouts is that?
So that's being played at the Salford Stadium, AJ Bell.
Oh, yeah.
So it's there on Saturday. I think the first game kicks off at 10:45 in the morning, and the final is set to be played from 10 to 3.
So that should be good.
A lot of action between when it all kicks off and when it's due to finish. But if you're there, say hello, because you'll probably see me. But I'll be hoping that I can certainly take in some more National Conference League Rugby League on Friday night. Do remember that you can get in touch with us at Dave Parkinson RL or at 13ProAm RL or
13ProAm at gmail.com.
Anybody would think we would have rehearsed that. Right, we're done for another week. Thank you ever so much, as always, for your company. We do enjoy it. We love your comments. We love your thoughts. And we hope that we see you again this time next week.